All right, hello, fellow travelers. Welcome to another episode. This is a special year-end episode of The Unbroken Ground, and I'm Paul. And this is going to be a short one, but I did want to just kind of wrap up 2023 with just kind of a here's what's up kind of a quick word. First of all, obviously, thank you to all those who have been listening and continue to listen. Those that have just started listening, those that have been listening since day one. For those that have probably paid attention since day one, which are not probably most of the people that listen now. It kind of comes and goes, and that's cool. And I get it. I do the same thing when I listen to and listen to podcasts. It kind of ebbs and flows of when and who I listen to. So. Yeah, that's not a big surprise, but I actually started in 2022 in December, and then I immediately left and went to Texas for vacation and came back and kind of launched the podcast a little bit more publicly at the beginning in January of 2023. So technically this is the anniversary month, but we're going to call 2023 the year of the podcast. So this is just a quick look back on some things that, I've been pretty exciting about it. If you have listened to the first episode, you know that my heart was to spend some time encouraging people, also just myself being very very much more creative using gifts that God has given me, and so yeah, that's what I've done. That's been my whole year. Has just been trying out new things, trying out doing a podcast, doing interviews, doing some different formats, and just seeing what people like to listen to, and also what brings me joy, and where I feel like I can continuously bring honor to God using my gifts and experiences and just my take on some of the things. So that's been the year, and as far as that goes, that's been extremely successful as far as just accomplishing those goals. I wanted to do a year of podcasting, and I've done that now. I don't think I'm going to stop or slow down. That doesn't seem to be in my plans, but I also don't know the huge direction as far as where the podcast is going forward. I do know that it's going to have new theme music, or at least new intro music, as you heard, and there'll be more different music as we break in. So year two will have a different intro, and a different outro, and a different bit in the between. You won't hear all that on this one because I'm not going to have the bit in between, but you'll get the new intro and probably the new outro. Still working on that a little bit, but yeah, it's a little bit new music, trying to freshen things up. I get bored hearing the same things. I'm sure you guys do too. Let me throw some stats at you. Celebrate this year. Not counting this episode, obviously, or not counting what happens the rest of the day, which probably won't be too many downloads. The podcast itself was downloaded 1,260 times, which is 1,260 more times than I thought it would be. So that's exciting. Thank you guys for that. You're the ones that listen, and so far I haven't had an episode that has 0 downloads. So if that happens, I will probably stop doing things, because that would be pretty defeating and disappointing, and I don't know that I could recover from that. But we've been in. According to my statistical analysis program that comes with the platform that I podcast on, we've been in 31 states. So I guess next year's goal could be to get into those other 19 states and get into all 50 states. But the 31 is pretty impressive for me, just because I didn't know what to expect. So for sure, that has been a really cool deal. So the highest state, of course, is Illinois, which makes a lot of sense, because that's where I know most of the people who would take an interest, to at least take a shot at listening to one of my podcasts. And then the second was Texas, which is again where I know most of the people. So if you're in one of those other states out there and there are some other states that come pretty close, I'll pull that up and look at that in a moment. Actually, I'll do that. Yeah, I'll do that in a moment, because I've got pulled up here the top 3 episodes. The first one, of course, was the special guest one with Travis and ODog. So shout out to those guys. That was downloaded a total of 47 times, which is 3.73% of all the total downloads. So that's pretty cool. I love those guys, and I really appreciated having them come on the podcast, and need to get them to do another one. We've hung out. We just didn't do a podcast. So that's been the most downloaded one. The second most downloaded one is episode 2, Treasure, which is really disappointing to me in the fact that it's probably one of the worst recorded ones. I still was trying to figure out some of the audio issues and microphone and the music levels versus the talking levels. And I apologize to all people who had turned up the talking portion and then the music came on and blew out your eardrums. I fully apologize for that. I like the episode. I'm not disappointed that people listen to it, but it is one of the worst as far as recording and leveling and all that goes, because I was still learning things. I'm still learning things. The third one is the January episode that I recorded with my friend Jim, and that ties with episode 12, which was Annoying Neighbors. Which is pretty just, again, so those were like 37, 34, and 34 number of downloads. So that's pretty cool. It's not thousands and thousands of downloads, but that's not really what I was going for. And in order to become a podcast like that, it kind of becomes a second job. And I'm not looking for a second job, but I am looking for just ways that I can speak into people's lives and help them get closer to Jesus. And that seems definitely to be the way. So I was the number of states. I'll jump over to this page. Illinois first, Texas second. Illinois is 50%. So you guys are out there, huge lead there. Great job. Texas, then Virginia, then Indiana, Ohio, California, Wisconsin, and then they kind of go staggered down from there. So if you're one of those states and you'd like to be higher up the list, then tell your friends and get them to listen. But yeah, it's been slowly growing and going into different states, and it's been pretty cool, pretty exciting. So thank you guys for that. The plans for the new year, not quite finalized yet. I'm still kind of kicking ideas around in my head. So you will know as soon as I know but I still plan on doing one a week. Still plan on doing it on Sunday nights unless something interrupts that schedule. Still want to have special episodes with friends, get them to come over and talk. Need to kick things back up with Jim on doing Would You Rather games, all those type of recordings. So I need to do all that. Haven't done that, but need to and want to, and we'll make that a priority in the new year. As we come to the end of the year, this is not going to be a full podcast episode, as I mentioned earlier. We're going to go a little bit shorter, but I did want to give you just a quick challenge, a quick idea to think through as you maybe think about your new year, whether you listen to this tonight on New Year's Eve or whether you listen to this sometime next week and we're in 2024. I just wanted to give you something that a little bit of encouragement and a challenge moving forward. And where I find that challenge, or where I want to read, is actually in Philippians chapter 4. And it goes in chapter 8. Philippians chapter 4, verse 8. This is what Paul says. And for me, this is kind of what I want to think about as I think about 2024. What it means, what it can mean as far as our conversations, as far as the things that we talk about, the things that we do. So this is what it says. Philippians 4:8 says this. It says, "Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things." I think that one of the pressures that people feel, and I feel, and we feel, especially as we move into a new year, we know that this is going to be another year of people who are angry, people who are upset. We know there's going to be an election. People are going to be passionate about their candidate. They're going to be passionate about the government, and they're going to be passionate about how things turn out. And there's going to be a million, trillion, billion different opinions and news articles, and there's going to be people who are going to not agree with you. There's going to be people who are going to agree with you, and I think that it's so important to come back to this idea of what do we spend our time thinking about, and making sure that we are thinking on the things that Paul says. Whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable. If anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. And I say that and I say that because I think that when we do those things, when we talk more about those things, when we think more about those things, when we make those things more a part of our lives, we will see more of those things in our lives, and that's just kind of what happens. It's the same phenomenon of, like, if you have a car and you've never noticed how many other people have the same car you do until you have that car. Trust me, if you haven't experienced this, my wife and I. Well, that's a story for a different podcast, but my wife and I had to get a new car rather quickly. And when I went to go get the car, basically I was going to go buy it just because it was an instant kind of situation where we needed transportation. And I said, okay, well, what do you not want to colors wise? Let's just do colors. And she was like, orange. So when I got to the dealership and I looked at all the different options, there was one car that really had the things that we wanted, and it was orange. The salesman told me I could call it Kenyan red. But for all intents and purposes, it was orange. And it was a Kia Borrego, and something I'd never heard of. And then when I bought it, I would just see it everywhere. There were friends who had one. It was like, oh, okay. But I wouldn't know it, but it's because I became aware of that because now I was a driver of Borrego, so I'd see other Borregos. And I think that's the same thing that happens when we focus on certain things. And so if we focus on anger, fear, worry, and that becomes the things that fill our language, then we'll see those things like the darkness. We'll see those things more, and it will just be noticing those more. And I think if you do the opposite, and this is not to, again, if you do the opposite and you're thinking about whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, you will see those things more. Not because you're making them happen. Most of the time it's because they're already there, because God is so good. He's already moving in these ways. He's already got all of this stuff going. You can already see these things. It's not that you're bringing them out as though you're manifesting them, but rather you're realigning to see the ways that God is at work. And I think that as we go into 2024, that's my challenge, is for us to realign the way that we see things so that we can see and talk about the way that God is at work. And if we get caught up in all of the negative things that can happen, and all of the day-to-day humdrum, difficult things that can happen, and we don't look and we don't see, when we don't think about some of the higher things, the better things that Paul calls here, then we'll miss them. They'll still happen. They'll still be there. They'll still exist, but they'll happen there. And I'm not saying that we should be so heavenly minded that we don't any earthly good. And so, like, I'm not saying that we have to have a Jesus juke moment. And if you don't know what a Jesus juke is, I can explain that. And Jesus juke is taking every simple thing and turning it into something about Jesus. So if somebody says something like, I saved my document on the computer, and you go, oh, you know who else saves? Jesus saves. That's a Jesus juke. We weren't really talking about Jesus. We're just talking about Office documents. Don't bring them to that conversation in that way, because you don't necessarily. Not saying that you have to turn every conversation that isn't about spiritual things. Although if you really, spiritual things is life, and if you're talking about life, you're going to be. But you don't necessarily have to do it in such a way that's insincere or that doesn't flow with the conversation, but rather just be aware of what it is that you think about, what you talk about, what you allow to dominate your conversations, and what you allow to live in your head. I would just argue that it would be much better if you thought on things that were beautiful, pure, noble, that were right, that were excellent, that were praiseworthy. If you thought on those things, I think that you'll have a better year. Even if you just try every day to find those things, I think it'll be a better year, because you'll be looking for the ways that God's kingdom is breaking in, because that's what happens when God's kingdom breaks in, is that you see those things. So that's my challenge, you guys, to 2024. Look for those things. Look for the ways that you can see how God's kingdom is moving, and how you can be a part of that. And again, don't be so heavenly minded that you are kind of obnoxious on the other side of that. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying you can't just talk about the Cowboys or you can't just talk about the Bears. But when you think about when you think about the wholeness of your conversation, are you finding the ways to talk about the things that are good and pure and noble, the things of God, the things of His kingdom? That's the challenge. Hope that you guys have a wonderful New Year's Eve and then day, and 2024 starts off in amazing ways, and that you see God move, and God uses you in wonderful, amazing ways. As I said, we'll be back. You'll get to hear some new music, because I'm going to close this thing out with some new closing music. Going to change things up a little bit like that. But for the most part, still going to be the same kind of podcast. Still going to be kicking it off next Sunday with season 2. This is kind of the end of the year break in between season 1 and season 2, and that's pretty crazy. So keep recommending this. If you have friends that like podcasts, tell your friends. We've got 19 states, so if you've got people that live in far off states, or apparently Louisiana, Georgia, those places, let them know, because then we can add them to the list as well. And either way, again, I thank you for listening. It's humbling that you choose to. I don't know that I ever have that great of things to say, but I just try to share what God has taught me, and how God's working in my heart, and I hope that it blesses your life too. So thanks for listening. Thanks for 2023. Look forward to seeing you in 2024.